what are the expected salaries which you could get as a junior or maybe a mid-year. We're also going to look at the senior outlooks of a salary, but you have to understand that this is going to be varied based on your location, and even within one country and one region, also the city could change what is your salary going to be. It's going to be based on your skill level, obviously if you're a junior, mid-year or senior, but most importantly, it's usually based on the country which you are being based on, because as we're going to see it right here, right now, being in the US is usually like 2 times more than being in Europe, even though in some regions of Europe, even the salary can be still really high. And also take everything with a grain of salt, which I'm saying and showing to you here, because these are the publicly available information which we can find online. I'm also going to tell you my personal experiences about like salaries, but I heard many stories that actually people earning much more than what we can see online, and in some cases even lower what we can see online. So it depends on the situation, on the company as well. Some companies paying a lot more than other companies, regardless of the region. So maybe there are 2 German companies, 2 New York-based companies, Los Angeles-based companies, Austrian-based companies, but they can pay designers and like employees vastly differently from each other. But let's just jump in to the actual data. What does the internet says to us? Okay, so according to Indeed, which is also sort of like LinkedIn, it's a job posting platform. It is 95,749 per year, so it's like a yearly. It's 95k annually, basically. According to Placehold, it's 76. According to our data, and the average US salary is like 92k. Okay, so here comes the problematic factor, because most of these websites, especially if you look for worldwide, and especially if some institutions, boot camps, certain design influencer want to sort of sell you the idea of like how UX/UI design well paying, which is certainly true. I'm not arguing about that. But most of the numbers which you're going to see, especially if they are in dollar and they are getting closer to the 100k mark, they're usually going to be US-based salaries. You probably won't get a job from either Europe, from India, from China, from Japan, from Australia. Basically, if you are not a US-based citizen, you probably won't land a 100k salary mark, but especially not when you are a junior. So if you are someone from the USA, from Canada, Toronto, New York, Los Angeles, it's pretty much realistic what you can see here. It's fine. But if you're someone other else than the USA, then you're definitely not going to get these kind of salaries, at least until you are a junior or mid-year. On a senior level, it's definitely possible, but not as a junior. And I'm saying it from experience, and I'm saying it based on that I was talking to many senior designers before. So yeah, that's why be cautious about like if you see any bootcamps advertising this is probably true for the USA market, not for the European or any other market. So as you can see on this map, it focuses on the USA market, United Kingdom market, China market, Australia market. It doesn't even consider Europe or maybe even Africa or South America for some reason. And that's why I'm saying again, average UX/UI design salary, because obviously if we consider like the 110k in the USA, which sounds really, really nice, but as you can see, for example, in the United Kingdom immediately, or in Australia, immediately it jumps to almost half, or actually half of the USA salary. So pay attention to this one. Not worldwide, but let's see, EU. UX design salaries 2024. So what do we see here? This is a nice website, by the way. I like the design. Sort of like a startup kind of website. They're really slick, modern design. Yeah, and this is what I meant by different companies as well. This one is only like 50k. Obviously, I don't know the end, like how realistic it is. But if you just look at the starting marks, it is like 100, and this is 50k. So it varies based on the company as well. And based on my own experiences, I can tell you some companies will pay you this amount, and some companies pay you this amount for exactly the same type of jobs. And also in general, I want to say, based on my experiences, multinational companies, like the big corporate companies, at least in my experience, they were paying me really, really well. While startup companies might not pay that well, but you can find much more fulfillment there. So this is also something which you need to consider. But let's see other websites. Let's see what Glassdoor says. So Glassdoor says that the salary in Germany in total is like minimum 47k to 66k per year. So it averages on like 55k per year. For example, if the company pays you 47k, right? This is going to be around like 4k monthly, right? But out of the 4k, you're going to have about 20k minus, which is going to be the tax, and it's going to average out around like 200 euro per month. This is going to be your netto, and this is going to be your brutto. So this is also something which you have to keep in mind. Like, so the base salary here looks really attractive, it's nice, and also even on a monthly basis nice. But if we factor in that actually we are having only this amount, for juniors it's even being really nice, but in some countries it's not that high, to be honest. UX design salary in Europe. This one would be, I think, is UXL. It's also a really good platform to find jobs, by the way. Check them out if you have time. But this would be, I would say, a good estimation. So this is something realistic, which I can see here. And as you can see here, and also in the previous one on Glassdoor, the sort of in Europe, the highest sort of salary which possibly is possible to get is like 70 to like 80k. I heard other senior designers earning like 100k. It's definitely possible. But this is the high end which you can expect based on my experience as well. But I want to show you a video which I think is like interesting. So basically, if you don't know Jonathan Courtney, he has an agency in Berlin. They are having workshops for really big companies, and most of the times they are selling their own courses. Oh, that's a funny video about him. But he had a video where he was saying, how much money can a UX designer make? I remember this.
So, how much does a UX designer actually get paid? And what's the top range? What do the top UX designers in the world get paid today?
And I want to show you this video because I remember three years ago when this video came out and I was watching it. It really blew my mind because he's going to say in this video that actually the average salaries which you can see online is like fake. Sort of fake because they're paying much more, and that's why I want to show you this video. And that's why at the beginning of the video I told you that even though we have these averages on the website, it doesn't necessarily mean that this is going to be sort of the only way which is possible.
So if you see me showing you the Bay Area, London, Berlin, whatever, don't send me a message saying, well, it's not like this in Tokyo, and well, it's not like this in Delhi. Yeah, sure, it's not. But, you know, you can kind of work everywhere because now everyone's working remotely. So I'm showing you what the salaries are at the top range because I think that's what's most exciting, especially because, you know, anyone from any country can get good enough, especially if you've seen our channel long enough, you'll see.
And yeah, it's a really good point which she's making, that recently we got much more into remote settings. So basically you could have a job anywhere. Also, I want to say from my experience that even though it's nice to work remote and you could apply to any jobs, it's important to know that if you apply to countries and regions, like for example Berlin is really hot in terms of like startups and tech jobs, it's really nice to be working there. I was working there for a startup as well. But you know, because they pay the most, possibly most people are going to try to apply for those positions to work in Berlin, especially remotely. Like it sounds really awesome, but you have to consider that if you apply for these jobs, a lot of other people are going to take the same route because they know this information that if you work there, you definitely going to earn more. But that's why you have to consider like what is more important, competing with 1,000 other people, or maybe earning a little bit less, but not competing with 1,000 people, but only let's say just 100 or maybe 50 or 30 people. So that's also something which you have to keep in mind when you think about how nice that we can work in a remote setting. That's definitely true. I had projects from Israel, from the USA, from Germany, from Nigeria, where else? Malta. So it's definitely cool and it's possible, but you just have to understand that if you apply for remote positions, you're going to compete with much more people, especially if you apply to regions where they pay designers really well. So don't forget that.
See a lot of the ways to get really good at UX design. Anybody from any country can get good enough to get these salaries, okay? So don't get angry at me if I'm showing mostly US and Western Europe. Okay, so first of all, I think from what I've seen, these are...
And here comes the part where he says this, which I'm talking
are
about.
not very accurate. So I'm looking here at senior UX designer, 6 to 14 years of experience, and saying that 54,000 euro is the top range. Absolutely not. That's...
So even though we are looking at the average salaries here, as Jonathan claims, and he is pretty much into UX UI design a while ago, and he's working with really big companies. He has his own agency 10 plus years ago in Berlin. So I pretty much believe whatever he's saying. I'm biased towards him, that's for sure. But if he says that this is not like quote unquote true, we can definitely expect other outcomes.
It's totally bullshit because I wish this was the top range. Maybe we're overpaying our UX designers. But this is absolutely not the top range for a UX designer. This is actually very low. I would say this is closer to more the mid-level UX designer in Europe. So what I can tell you is that a senior UX designer in Europe, in Germany, and also kind of in London. London has higher salaries, and Ireland, places like that, is definitely closer to the 80 to 90 mark.
Since these sound really good, obviously what he's saying is sort of the higher end. Now he's talking about senior designers, but also in these regions, the junior design salaries are also higher. So
especially if you've got like 8-9 years of experience, you're definitely going to be making more like 80,000 euro, 90,000 euro. That's the range if you're a good UX designer. This whole video is about the top range. This whole video is about if you're very...
Yeah, basically this was a part which I wanted to show you and also share my experiences. So it's definitely true, although you have to keep in mind that, getting to a senior level takes time and energy. But if you need any help, let me know. Maybe I can help you. And I know you're definitely at the beginning of your career, but also this video is 3 years old. And also we had a few inflation since then. So the salaries have risen since then. So I just want to motivate you that it's, first of all, definitely possible. It was also possible for me, even though I'm not anything special. I just want you to keep motivating you on going this path, because UX UI design is definitely fulfilling. And it's true that the market is a little bit challenging at the moment, but it does not mean that it's impossible for you to achieve anything. So keep just learning, keep just working on, and have a good life.